everyone, welcome back. So today's recipe is going to be on jeera chicken necks. So before I even start introducing the video, I wanted to say that chicken necks and chicken feet and various parts of other animals are very common to eat in the Caribbean and other countries. It's part of our culture, so you just have to keep an open mind if you're not familiar with it. It's actually very normal for us back home to eat chicken necks. So jeera chicken necks are actually really popular in bars or rum shops, and I'm not sure why it's so popular because chicken necks are so messy to eat and it takes such skill to eat a chicken neck in public. Like, I could never eat a chicken neck in public. I would embarrass myself. But I think I know why people like to eat this when they're drinking. It's how peppery it is and the jeera flavor. Jeera tends to taste really good on bony pieces of meat, so I think that's really why they enjoy it. So if you want to see the recipe for these delicious jeera chicken necks, keep watching. So to get started, you'll need some seasonings, and instead of using a pre-made green seasoning, and if you want that recipe, you can find that right here in the upper right hand corner. So today I'm not going to be using a pre-made seasoning or anything. I'm going to be making some fresh seasoning ground up in my mortar and pestle. So lately I've actually been making my seasonings like that, and I don't know, it just takes me back to when I was small. I don't know, it just gives the food a nice old school flavor. So the seasonings I'm going to use to actually season the chicken, I'm going to use some Shadon Beni or Bandhani leaves. And you'll notice I have quite a bit. So some I'm going to use like at the end when the chicken is nearly finished. And then some I'm going to use to actually season it. So I have a good amount of that. I have garlic. So you want to have enough garlic because you'll need some to chunky and you'll need some to season the chicken. I have like a medium-sized hot pepper and a small one. And I have some pimento peppers just for some nice flavor, but not too much heat. And you do not have to add pepper to this. It's totally up to you. If you like spicy, do spicy. If you don't, use some mild peppers. I have a little piece of ginger here, and I know you might think this is weird, but I've seen my uncle add ginger to his jeera chicken, and trust me, it's a game changer, so try it. I have onion that I'm going to use to chunky up the chicken, and some chive or some scallions. So I'll use this to also just garnish it when it's finished, and to add a little bit to the pot while it's cooking. And I have some curry powder, so you want to use your favorite curry blend. And I just have a Madras blend here, and this is my favorite curry powder. Curry is not traditional in jeera recipes. This is just how my mom taught me to make jeera, and I find that it really gives it a nice flavor compared to without it. I have some whole grain cumin seeds or jeera, and when you're making jeera pork or jeera chicken, you want to use freshly roasted ground geera. So I'm going to use my whole grains here, and I'm going to roast it in a pan, and I'll ground it up fresh, and it's just going to give a nice flavor to the jeera chicken. It's going to give you a nice fresh earthy flavor. So let's get started. I'm going to start by preparing my seasonings. So into my mortar, I added my Shadon Beni or Bandhani leaves, the ginger, the garlic, and hot pepper. So I left one of the hot peppers. I'm going to use that to chunky. So I'm just going to use my pestle to grind everything up. So now that the seasoning is made, I'm going to start seasoning up the chicken. And I forgot to mention one important ingredient. I have some curry leaves here. So I actually just pounded up a few curry leaves in the seasoning as well. So I'm going to start by adding a little salt. So salt will be to your preference. So now just go ahead and add your seasoning in there. And that smells amazing. Like, I could smell the ginger, I'm smelling the curry leaves, the bandhani, everything smells so pungent. So just give that a good mix. Make sure everything's well incorporated. Okay, so I'm gonna let this marinate for a little bit, and I'm gonna work on my roasted ground jeera. So to a dry pan, preferably a cast iron, you want to add in your jeera or your cumin seeds. And I have this on medium-high heat, I would say. So what you want to do is keep stirring this, because you want to keep turning the jeera seeds. You want it to evenly parch or evenly patch. We call this patching the jeera. So I'm not sure if the camera is picking it up, but I don't know if you could tell that some of the seeds are already starting to turn. So you see, you can't have it burning. You want to make sure it cooks evenly. So I'm not sure if you can see the color of it, but it's dark brown. It's not black. It's just very dark brown. So I just turned it off and it looks good there. So now you're going to use like a spice grinder or a coffee grinder. Something that's going to grind this really fine into a powder. I'm just going to use my mortar and pestle to do that. So just let it cool down until you can handle it. You don't want to put this in your blender or your grinder when it's too hot. It's just gonna pop open. So make sure it cools down first, and then you could grind it up. So my roasted jeera is nice and grinded. So if you notice, I left some of it like in half and some whole pieces, because I like a little chunkiness in there. You want it to have a little bit of texture. You don't want it to be too smooth and too powdery. So I'm going to use some of this to season up my chicken. So you're just going to add a good amount of your roasted ground jeera in there. And you can use the pre-packaged jeera as well. I know most of you don't have a lot of time on your hands and you want to just cook really quickly. So you can definitely use that packaged jeera. To me, it's the real deal. So, you know, I just like to be a little extra and do everything like homemade. So you're just going to mix this in. You want it to marinate a little bit. And if you really don't have time to let it marinate, you could go ahead and cook it right away. So that's looking good, smelling good, so I think it's time to chunky our pot. So to get started, I have my heat on like medium high. And I'm using my good old trusty iron pot. You know, us Caribbean people, we love to cook in our cast iron pots. So I'm starting off with a little bit of oil. You can use whatever oil you like to cook with. So once that oil is nice and hot, I'm going in with the onion. So after the minute, you'll notice the onion is starting to get a nice translucent color. Now we're gonna add our Karapillay or curry leaves. Now I'm adding the pimento peppers. Pimento. I'm gonna cut that hot pepper in there. Let's see if this is hot. Yeah. And the garlic. I find that I keep forgetting garlic in most of my recipes, and it's the most important part. So at this point, I'm just gonna lower my heat to like medium low, and I'm going in with the little bit of curry powder I have here, and I'm gonna use the packaged roasted ground jeera because I want to save that fresh one to finish the chicken with. So I'm just using a little bit of the packaged one here. You don't have to use too much because it's already seasoned. Plus I'm gonna add some just before it's finished cooking. After about a minute, add in some water. And you want that to just cook down there and start to release its oils. And you'll see it's gonna start separating from the oil. so it's gonna get grainy. So you're gonna leave this for about 2 minutes and I'll show you what it's gonna look like. So after about 2 minutes, you'll notice it's gonna start to get grainy. So this is what you're looking for. At this point, I'm just gonna add the seasoned chicken necks in there. I forgot to mention, you want to crank your heat back up to high because you want this to bunjay now. Bunjaying just means to get that natural liquid from the chicken. You want to get it out and you want it to dry out before you add any other liquid. And because this is quite bony, it's not going to let out too much liquid, so just keep your eye on it. So after about 10 minutes, most of that liquid has reduced. So you're hearing that nice charring sound. So I'm just going to add some hot water. And you want to go in with some really hot water or boiling water because you don't want to stop the cooking process. And just to mention that since these are chicken necks, they don't take long to cook at all. So if you want to dry this down, then just add 1 cup of water. I'm going to be eating mine with roti, so I'm going to add like 1.5 cups. So I'm going to add a next half cup. And by 1 cup, I mean one of these cups. I don't mean like a real measuring cup. So just add enough liquid because this is probably cooked already. I'm just gonna make a little sauce now. So I'm gonna start by adding my first set of that finishing roasted jeera. So I'm just adding a little bit. And I'm gonna add some chive or some scallions and some chopped bandhani or Shadon Beni. And I'm just gonna save a little bit to add when it's like really finished. So now you're just gonna reduce this until it has enough sauce that you want. And as I mentioned, I'm gonna be eating mine with roti, so I'll need a little bit of sauce to dip. So that liquid that I added earlier, it's already starting to reduce. So I'm gonna go in with the rest of that roasted ground geera. And this is like the trick to cooking anything jeera. You have to add that little pinch of freshly roasted jeera at the end. That's how you get that really nice jeera flavor. So you see how much sauce it has in it? I'm just gonna let that reduce a little bit, but I wanna keep some of that sauce. And as I mentioned, if you want this as cutters, let it dry all the way down and you're gonna have a nice jeera coating on the outside of the chicken. So I'm gonna finish it with the rest of that bandhani or Shadon Beni and the chive or the scallions. So I'm gonna turn it off. And just before you turn it off, taste it, make sure it has everything, salt, pepper, everything, and then add accordingly. The only thing that I have to do is make my roti. So I hope you all enjoy the video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you like it. Leave all your comments below. You know I love hearing from you all. So make sure you subscribe and click the bell next to the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my videos. So jeera chicken is usually eaten dried down or like cutters or appetizers, but you can add sauce if you want. So you can make this recipe however you want, add whatever you like to add to jeera chicken, and you can make it your own. So I'm just sharing my version and I hope you all enjoy it. Until I see you all in my next video, bye!